welcome. Apologize for like the 20 seconds of black screen there. Just had to fix something before it went while we were streaming, so we didn't start with a laggy process. How we doing today, my friends? How are we? What is going on, people? How do you feel? Opening weekend. What's going on? Why can't I get my... There we go. Opening weekend of the Premier League is well underway, and I think it's been kind of interesting so far. Not many surprises if you know what you're talking about. I did a whole prediction video on Friday morning, and I was 5 seconds from perfection so far this weekend on my predictions. 5 seconds from getting my predictions right. Like, man, why did they have to do me like that? I was so close. To having a perfect record in the start of this season. So close. Fulham, you bastards. That was the only one. I'll show you guys the video in a minute. But so far, everything is going according to plan. Everything's going according to plan. Everything I'm expecting from the league is there. What do you mean fix my mic? My mic's fine. Mic is farting? What are you talking about? Going a bit robotic. Uh-oh. I can't explain why. Very staticky today? Oh, brother. Keeps fuzzing, huh? It's crackling. Static. Oversaturated. Kind of exploded for a second. Retro. Yeah, very scientific advice on what's going wrong with the microphone. Yeah, let's see. Hold on. Gonna test all our connections, test all our cables. Make sure that everything's plugged in. I've changed absolutely nothing. It looks okay on my side. Crackling loudly every 36 seconds go. Just now and then. A bee in the microphone. Maybe that's what it is. Let's see. A new flux capacitor? Yeah, apparently. Oh, you know what? I think I know what it is. Oh, wait, well, maybe. Might be all right now. Hold on. We're gonna... How about now? Is the buzzing gone now? Let's see if the buzzing is gone now. Because now it's showing absolutely nothing when I'm not talking, which is what is supposed to happen. Sacked in the morning. Sounds better. Is that better? Let me know if there's any other issues with it while we go. It seems fine. Yeah, I think there was a vibration in the desk. But no, it's exploding again. Huh. Sounds like a wasp and a bee going at it rough. Oh, brother. That's not good. Hold on. Let's test that. Test all the cables. Sounds like a connection problem, huh? Yeah, that's interesting. Happened just once in the past minute. I just replugged everything back in, so I'm concerned if that's happening. If it's still going on now. I don't see anything on the let's see. I don't see anything here. I don't see any there's absolutely nothing happening on the on the measuring bar. There's no random pop-ups. There's no it sounds good. Okay. No. And then it happened again. We'll manage. If I stay a little bit further back, we'll see. I have to figure that out. I have no idea why that's happening. It only happens when I talk. Well, that's great. That's very helpful because, the microphone is there specifically for when I talk. Hold on. We're going to try one more thing. Da-da-da. Because I just want it to be okay. I don't like having problems. Your ears just popped. That's good. Crackling every 10 seconds. It's not the pop filter. There's something else going wrong. I can't tell you what it is, but nothing weird should be happening. So, yeah. It shouldn't be anything like that. It shouldn't be anything like that. There's nothing different. It seems like maybe it's a cord issue or something, but we'll see. I might swap in the old one to see. One sec. If I can find it. Let's swap in the old one really quick while we're doing this. And then we'll see if it works. Let's see. Is it any better with this microphone? It might be a little louder, but let's see if it's any better now. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to talk for a second and let's see if it's any better with this microphone so we can determine, is it a cord microphone issue? Is it a cord issue or a microphone issue? That's going to be the serious question. So tell me how it's doing as I've been talking consistently here for the last 15 seconds or something like that. If there's still any issues or if it's totally fine now. Better? No issues? All good? Okay. Uh-oh. Did our nice expensive microphone have some issue? Guess we'll figure that out. It's much better. All right. Hold on. I'm going to switch it to the other one. And then I just need to switch the stand over. Okay. Yeah. We're hot swapping live. Hot swapping live. Okay. Now we got a new microphone. Hasn't crackled yet. Okay. Good. We'll see. I'm gonna just have to test it and record with it afterwards because maybe it was just like the connection was bad or something. I'll figure that out afterwards. But yeah, thanks for letting me know. So I'll switch back to this one and make sure that I don't have any major issues with it. So as long as it's fine so far, that's why you always have backup stuff, isn't it? That is the point. As long as it's working. And what I'm happy about that we found out on this live that I didn't know, if I could do is to just swap the mics out mid discussion and see if it actually improved. So apologies for the waste of how long have we been live? 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We haven't even got started. I was so distracted. I do appreciate it though, because I think that like sound issues can be incredibly irritating. Like myself, if I'm listening to something with sound issues, I just won't. And I know there's a lot of people like that. So I appreciate letting me know when there are these kinds of issues.
If we don't sort our mid, we are finishing 9th in EPL.
I disagree. I disagree quite a lot with that in general. I think that we've talked about it. You know, I'll go off on this tangent again, and then I actually have a look. I've got stuff to talk about. I have like a whole agenda of things to talk about. Okay, the Discord channel that posts your tweets has stopped doing that. What does that mean? Is there a different Discord channel to mine? Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. But yes, look, I'll give you news. I will talk with you about news. But listen, here's the thing. I've actually got a video coming next week, and it'll probably be the most detailed tactical view that I've ever done with pictures from games, drawings, all sorts of cool shit on it. Because I really want to show people what the problem is. And I'll do it on Tuesday. Actually, I'm going to, after the Arsenal game, I'm going to use footage from that to add to it. No way, seriously, it happened again. It may be the cable then. It may be the cable. If it did happen again, it might actually be the cable. Which would be really lame, but also totally possible. Then it's not the microphone. That's so weird. Wait, this feels like it's loose. Hold on. This feels like it's loose. All right, well, it's fine. I think it's just yeah, it's whatever. It might have been just because I bumped something.
If we don't sort out the midfield, will we again suffer big defeats in the big games like we did under Ole, Rangnick and Ten Hag?
No, we didn't really last year either in those big games. Like, if you look at our record under Amorim last year was actually pretty good in big games like City or something like that.
Agum, Mateus Fernandes, Edison. Who are you feeling, James?
I'm feeling Yeomand or Ederson as just because they're names we followed for a long time if we're going to get somebody. And I'll kind of explain that in a minute here. But look, the thing about it is this. Again, like I said, I'm gonna do a whole video on this on next week. Yeah, we had the same midfield against City, Arsenal, Liverpool last year. We did quite well, but we lacked the forwards. So the fact that we did decently well in those games, even with the same midfield, should be a bit of an explanation. But the thing about it is you know, I did go over this on the live yesterday. I did a long explanation on the tactical board, kind of showing the way that the center backs have to affect the game when it comes to, you know, that the center backs have to affect the game and the way that they have to hold the line against the teams. And last night I actually went through, believe it or not, I've never done this before. Last night I actually went through the entire Everton game to try and show what was going on. And I watched it, and I watched what I could and highlighted like every time out of possession. And it's kind of amazing actually to look at because you actually see like what happens a lot. And I was actually looking at a video on it. I'm actually making a whole video on it, and then I kind of want to show it. Can I use some tactical? But I don't know any. I'm gonna have to speak English, Mikkels. I'm not sure what to do about that. I just want to show you very briefly, and then I promise I will get to the actual like news and info and all of that. But I'm trying to stretch my legs a little bit and do some different things. What does this look like? All right, look. This is from the video I'm recording, okay, that I'm putting together. And If you look at this problem right here, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I see it a lot more of a center back issue than anything else. If you watch every time Everton was in possession, this is what would happen. Their forwards would drop off and our center backs would incorrectly let them. And if you see what happens here where we were losing second balls and things like that, this is kind of what would happen over and over again. You'd have these really big gaps. So you can see in this situation, they drop off to win the header and the back line's just standing here. And so you look at Ugarte in the middle and you can say it's a midfield problem, right? What's he supposed to do here? There's 4 people. He's got players in behind him, players in front of him, players all around, and nobody is stepping up in front of the line. It's just too much. And then the other thing that you'll notice is the exact thing I was kind of pointing out yesterday. This is Ugarte's midfield partner and Kobbie Mainoo in that game. And this is Bruno Fernandes starting in the 10 in that game. In Amram's midfield setup, these guys are always up the pitch, getting caught up there, and you're left alone. Your center back has to step forward. They have to. And if they don't, then we're in serious trouble. You can see here, though, they're just not brave. This is in possession. Why are we so deep? If you watch Liverpool, any of the top teams play when they're in possession in these areas, these center backs are going to squeeze. When you lose the ball in this situation, you can't do anything about it, and they're all moving backwards. This is actually Bruno covering at center back here. And I'll show some other. Look at this one. This one's the worst one of them all to me. Okay, because once again you have your 2 8s, your 8 and your 10 being up here. Your 6. Look at how many guys are around. This is De Ligt's striker Beto dropping in and running around Ugarte. Does nothing, just stands there, doesn't come up to support the midfield. This is Yoro's man, drops in to receive the header, doesn't come up to support the midfield. This is Shaw's man, comes forward, doesn't step up to support the midfield. What are they doing? This is why we lost control of the game against Everton. Okay, so there's different reasons. There's different reasons for things that happen, and anyway, I did a whole breakdown of the entire game, and it's like every single possession, you can see it, that United are not losing. The reason they didn't control the game is because the center backs failed to step up and close the gaps that they were supposed to. There's a moment in the second half that I cover where you can see they know they're supposed to. Ugarte and Mainoo push high up the pitch to press. Shaw and Yoro follow. What does De Ligt do? Takes 5 steps backwards. No, it is on the players. It absolutely is on the players. I'm sorry, but in the situations we're talking about, it's on the players. When the front line drops off into the midfield, you have to push up and make the pitch smaller. That is what's supposed to happen. It's got to work like an accordion. It would be the same if it was a 4-2-3-1. If they had attackers up there, when the ball's in the air, they need to be stepping up into the midfield and supporting it. There's a moment in the second half.
When they know
that's a shit take. That's a shit take. Step up when they that's a shit take. That's just a terrible take. That's just a pointless take. I'm going to show you this in the second half, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to show this one. I'm going to show you this. This is purely a personnel issue. Look at this instance here. Hang on, let me widen it just a little so you can see De Ligt. What's he doing? This is Luke Shaw. This is Patrick Dorgu. They're pushing up. This is even a second later. Lenny Yoro comes up. Dowlow comes up. This is Ugarte. This is Mainoo. They're making the pitch small. They're doing the job. What's De Ligt doing? Standing on his back foot 5 yards deeper than the rest of the line, keeping Beto onside for this play. This is terrible. This is a killer. And you know the outcome of this. The ball gets all the way down here in the air, and De Ligt is still 5 yards off of him. And the end result of this play was Lenny Yoro having to slide in and make a last-ditch tackle. There's nobody to blame. Look at how bad it makes the organization when this happens. There's nobody to blame but the center backs not stepping up. That's what has to happen. This is an offside trap. If De Ligt steps up into the same line as the rest of them, he can get them on offside. But you also have to be pacey. You also have to not be scared. You also have to be able to deal with it. This was a press. The whole point of this was making the pitch very, very small. And then instead, you have one guy standing 5 yards deep. So it happened a lot in different instances throughout the game. Right, this high line not being caught. But here I want to show it again because this is Maguire not doing it wrong as well. He did it better a little bit later on in the game, but they all have to do this. This is Beto. He was doing this the entire game, dropping off the back line into this gap behind Ugarte, and Maguire doesn't move. You can see De Ligt almost reacts to it, but he doesn't quite. But you can see this channel here that I highlighted in this video is open all the time. The entire game against Everton, there's 3 Evertonians in this position and 0 center backs in this position. So teams will exploit it if the United defense doesn't jump into that to do it. This is a player issue that has to be sorted, and it is bigger than the midfield, this issue. It has to be sorted. So it's not like it's been bad in every game, because it hasn't. There's games it's actually been there's games it's actually been decent in. There's games we've done it better in. We actually did it better even against let me just fix this so when I come back to it we're okay. There's games that we did better in, at different times on solving these problems. But the biggest thing is the center backs. Now, Harry Maguire specifically said in his interview with Rio Ferdinand that one of their biggest issues is not knowing when to step up or drop back, not being brave, being scared to step up. He was talking about this exact problem. He has to fix it. They all have to fix it. They have to do better with it. If you remember last year in the Europa League, one of the things that made Lenny Yoro really stand out, what made him really stand out, right? Lenny Yoro, we all know it, is he started being super aggressive, jumping really high up the pitch, right? Out of possession, attacking from deep. Attacking from deep, jumping up into the midfield, doing all of that in and out of possession. That is what is supposed to happen. But look, it doesn't matter. When you have 3 players on your back line, you have to hold a high enough line that you're not giving the attacker space. There's no excuse for that. There's no system in the world that asks the defenders to stand here and let all the attackers sit in between the 6 and them. Why would you do that? Nobody defends that way. I've watched every game this weekend. Nobody defends that way. It is a personnel issue. It is being scared of being hit on the break. And you can see it with De Ligt in particular in that game against Beto, where he's constantly backpedaling way too early, way too quickly, because he's scared of the pace on the counter. That's why I think we need a new center back. We don't have good enough center backs. We don't have good enough center backs to do that, to do what is needed at this club. We just don't, I wish we did. But we don't. We only have a few people. Hang on, I'm gonna pull something up. This is really funny, by the way. We don't have enough. We don't have enough good players to do it. Lenny does it. Martinez does it, and practically nobody else does it in the team. And they need to do it from all positions. Okay, there's guys. On the left, there's guys on the right, there's guys in the middle. Whoever is dropping, that center back has to step up. This is the whole point of having a 3-man back line. a 3 center back line. Yeah, if you watch the City versus Wolves one, you'll see it all the time. When you're playing 3 at the back in possession, the point is when you lose it, they have to step up really quickly to hold a good offside trap and also to follow the runners, because you're not getting outnumbered. Your center backs are allowed to step up in a 3 at the back, because in a 4 at the back, you have the extra midfielder who's already in the midfield. So yes, all of the center backs have to know when to step up, and they have to do it correctly. Yeah, let me just show this on screen. It is pretty funny. Baleba on his Instagram caption says, "I'm a Baleba." Yeah, Baleba 2026. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it's that's funny, man. That's too good. These guys watch things that happen online. That's why I'm trying to be nicer as well online, because man, do people know what's going on. These guys know what's going on. I'm a believer. Can you believe it? By the way, now that we've got our audio sorted out, please do like the video, subscribe, all of that. But no, look, this is a consequence of what? Do you know what this is a consequence of? Yes, some of it is you just need better players. Some of it is you just need better players. Some of it is you just need faster players. Some of it is you need guys who are more aggressive. You know, some of it is all of that. That's part of it. Sometimes it's personnel. Some of it is just getting used to it. If you look at how United have played over the last 6 years, under zero managers. Yeah, correct, Body by Malik. No matter 4 at the back or 3 at the back, you're always going to be playing 3-1-6 or 3-2-5 in possession. Okay. No matter who we've had as a manager, every single manager has ended up having us drop deep and play counter-attacking football with box defending. If you look at Ten Hag's second season, what did we do? We faced more shots than anyone. Sat deep, box defending. In transition, what did we do? Retreat. In transition, retreat. Lose the ball, retreat. Lose the ball, retreat. Under Solskjaer, it was the same thing. Lose the ball, retreat. Lose the ball, retreat. And this is how. Yeah, this has been an issue for a long time. That is a tactical issue. The thing about it is that it's not what Ruben Amorim wants. And I've seen during different points in the game, even in that Everton game, in the second half after the subs, they fixed it. De Ligt too. There was obviously a clear instruction where Shaw started stepping up quicker. Maguire started stepping up quicker. De Ligt started stepping up quicker. But they need to do it more consistently, because it will be exploited by so many teams in the Premier League. Because how many teams in the Premier League have that striker who will drop into the space? It's the simple fact that Ruben Amorim has to get either the players to do it, or we will lose games, because he's not going to have us play sit deep counterattacking football, which I don't want him to, and I hope we never do, because that's why we've ended up in this situation. We haven't recruited the right type of center backs. We messed up, you know. When you look at what we wanted originally, mind you, when you look at who we actually tried to buy originally, by the way, it was Gerard Braithwaite and Todibo. Why? What is the one thing that both Gerard Braithwaite and Todibo have that allows them to play in a high-pressing system? It's the same thing. They both have it. Even if they're not, you can argue about different factors of how they want to play. Of other things that they have. But Gerard Braithwaite and Todibo have one thing in common that we lack heavily in our back line, that Euro does have, that Rafael Varane, before being injured, does have, and it's pace. It's pace. It's physicality and pace. They are both really fast. They are really fast center backs. They are center backs that can jump high and chase back. Now, Todibo hasn't been good, but I'm talking about what type of characteristics you are looking for and you are losing, but that you don't have from other players, and it is pace. On-ball ability is a bonus to that for sure, but the ability to step up and get back when needed to catch up. They are fast. They are fast players. They are very, very fast. Now, again, there's other flaws that you might see in all of them. Obviously, we didn't try for Todibo this year. Technically, we could have. We didn't try again for Braithwaite this year. Technically, we could have. Point being, though, they did want them for a reason. Aiden Heaven does have pace, and that is one of the reasons that Ruben Amorim does really like him. One of the other things I think about is as Mazraoui, for what it's worth. Mazraoui is in the center back position. Why I like him at right center back is because he and Yoro both step up into the midfield well and have some technical proficiency on the ball from that position and have some decent recovery pace. Mazraoui as a right center back is actually quite good at it. He's good at knowing when to step, knowing when to drop, knowing when to do all of these things. So other people have to sort it out, but we certainly, in my opinion, need a center back. And I think we're going to find that the center back position is going to be where we're going to need to see improvements in the system. Because from all of those images that I showed, Baleba doesn't fix it. I'm sorry to tell you that. Baleba doesn't fix any of that, okay? We had a bad game against Everton because the center backs didn't step up. We conceded because Ugarte and Bruno lost the ball. They're two different things. The game itself and the state it was in and the attacks being allowed and the lack of control was because the center backs weren't supporting the midfield properly and we were losing all second balls and direct balls into the striker. The reason we conceded is because of errors. They're two different things. The reason we concede and the reason... So, but the reason it got to the state where we're under pressure, where we end up making mistakes, is a systemic issue that has to be fixed. So it's two different things. Baleba would have fixed some of the issues. Fewer turnovers, probably doesn't make the mistake Ugarte makes. If he was there instead of Casemiro, he probably wouldn't have just pre-slid in, even though the turnover from Bruno was still bad. But he wasn't going to fix the other issues. He's not that big. He wasn't going to... he wasn't gonna single-handedly solve that problem. So it's a mixed bag there. We need the center backs to step up, and we need the striker to improve as well. That's big. Those two things is what I'm looking for against Arsenal, because especially when you look at Kai Havertz and Gyökeres, Kai Havertz is going to drop into that space. If Kai Havertz plays at striker, I don't know who's going to play at striker for Arsenal, but if Kai Havertz plays it at striker for Arsenal, he's going to drop right behind the number 6 every time. That's what he does. He's going to drop right in there, and he's going to win those. They do keep the ball on the ground a bit, but he's going to have a lot of ability to make those gaps, to play within those gaps. And that's scary. And Gyökeres, he just knows how to move. He doesn't drop in as much. He's not as good in the air, but he does know how to move, and he moves constantly. And the center backs have to be really aware of that and able to follow him. And those are my biggest concerns. The center backs have to figure it out. They have to. It's got to be Maguire stepping up to follow Kai Havertz if he's playing to win those aerial duels and things like that. If it's Gyökeres, well, then it's just got to be a team effort. We have to make sure that Lenny and such are ready to follow him into the channels properly. And we have to hold that offside line as well. We have to hold that offside line really, really well and not let them not drop off instantly, because then we can get under crazy, crazy pressure as well. So there you go. 34 minutes of fixing my microphone and ranting about this issue. But I do appreciate all of the the donations and questions. But I'm certain of this thing that I feel now. Now let's get to what we actually wanted to talk about, which is the news. 1 second here. So, Jadon Sancho, as I said the other day when the news first came out about Roma, unfortunately, there was still a fair bit of skepticism in certain parts of around United. Continued essentially worry that he would not necessarily agree to terms that it would allow for a permanent deal for Roma to go through. It's been 3 days. He's still not agreed personal terms. He's still not accepted the move. He's still not given the green light. He's still not agreed. This is a problem. This is definitely a worry. There's obviously still a chance that he does agree to something, but this is the concern with Jadon Sancho. The expectation, unfortunately, or bother it with it, is that most people believe that he's going to drag it out, mess it up, maybe only accept it in a case where he would take a loan so that he can agree as on personal terms as a free agent next year. That's probably what that's, I look at the situation and I think from his perspective, what motivation does he have, given what we know about him, to not just turn this deal down, force it into a end of summer loan to Roma, and then agree a free contract with them. Then they don't have to pay the 15-20 million in transfer fees. They can give him 5 million in a signing bonus and he makes more money. Or he can go sign for someone else. He can go take a different deal with Chelsea or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you never know, because obviously when you don't have to do any kind of transfer fee, clubs are willing to pay a little bit more money to the player and wages and things like that. That's the concern, is that he's going to continue making this difficult with Roma and not end up accepting the move, at all. That's the worry at the moment, and that's what they're afraid is going to happen. He can certainly still kind of push a loan. So yeah, it's frustrating, because I think a lot of people expected when that news came out that it was like on the verge of being done. It still could happen. But the concern originally that has continued is that he may just turn the move down, and that's where we're at. And he may just continue to drag it out. And so far, that's what's continued to happen. As of today, anyway. So we're still waiting on that to happen, because that obviously, if it does happen, would free up a bunch of money. But I've almost tacitly accepted here, we're just going to get a small loan fee and some wages covered and save a little money on Sancho, and he's going to go on loan and forget it. And that's what I think's going to happen. And I'm not saying that's why we can't get Baleba, or that's why we didn't get Baleba, because there's other factors involved in that aren't just money. But there's other factors in that are not just money related, but it's like, it doesn't help us, certainly, not having the money. We need these sales to go through, and them slowing everything down is pretty funny. It's pretty funny. It sucks, but it is kind of funny. What's going to happen with him, the world may never know. Certainly, I don't think he would expect to stay here and be, reintegrated into the team. I don't think anybody's going to get reintegrated in the team. The problem is that, United still owe, 15 million or something like that, in amortization. I think it's 14 million this year. Maybe it's 13. 14 and a little. So plus 15 in wages. So he's costing United about 29 million pounds right now for the season. If we could sell him, it would be such a massive gain, but it's just not happening, unfortunately. It might happen. I shouldn't say it's not happening. It hasn't happened, and it's whatever Sancho wants to do, essentially. So that's Sancho. For Rasmus Højlund, it is believed that this will be a semi-pivotal weekend for Højlund. Some of the people that I've spoken with believe he's waiting to see whether he will be in the squad at the weekend and get off the bench and get any minutes before potentially finalizing or making a further decision as to his career at United, where it's at, and what he wants to do moving forward. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we discussed this the other day, but there is a decent chance that that Rasmus Højlund doesn't make the squad when you look at all of the players involved, and you look at everything. If you take the starting 11, again, there's 9 players included, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. You get 9 bench players. I guess I could look at some teams' lineups today and see how many bench players do they name. Let's see. They've got... I actually want to confirm it because some people said 9, some people said 10. I just want to confirm the number. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so it's 9. Okay. So 9 players have been named there in the squad. And as bench players. And if you look at, Ruben, essentially where he's been selecting, even if we only pick one goalkeeper, and he usually picks 2 for whatever reason, we've got Xerxes, one keeper, Xerxes, let's say Mason Mount, Diogo Dalot or Ahmad, Diego Leon, because we have to have a fullback, Maguire or Delict, Heaven or Shaw, Ugarte or Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo. There's no space. Even with one keeper, there's no space. So you add a second keeper, that makes 10. So you're going to have to be saying, and that's, Obi was with the under-21, so I don't think he'll be there. But, who are you dropping? Who are you dropping in order to make this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like who would you be saying you would drop out of the squad to include Højlund in there? That's the question, and that's going to get worse if later on you have Mazraoui return, Sancho returning. There's a couple more people who could be returning soon. So, if you want to get Cheeto, if you want to get any youth into the team of any kind at any point in time, it's going to be fairly full. That's why he's, essentially you got to think he's got to go. Is that there's not going to be space. So there's a serious chance he's not included in the squad this weekend. And I think that would be a motivating factor for Rasmus Højlund in potentially the next step. So I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that happen. I think we're going to see how that affects things. But yeah, apparently that is a potential thought here. Is what happens, and he might already know today. In fact, I'm sure everybody knows today, by the way. I'm sure all the players know if they're in the squad. I'm sure all the players know if they're in the team. I'm sure all the players know who's starting by right this moment when we're talking. So, we're going to be aware. So we'll see if anything else happens on this. But yeah, surely this is something that will be telling. Now, if he's somehow in the squad and somebody else has dropped out of it, that would be pretty wild too. Because I'm trying to think, who else could be not included? Who else could be not included? Diego Leon, but then you're starting with only one fullback on the bench, maybe, and that's if you start Ahmad, you have Dalot. If you didn't include anybody else, it'd be kind of wild. Xerxes been in full training, he's ready, he's available. So then you'd be having to say, we pick Højlund over Xerxes, but I don't think that's going to happen. If you didn't pick Mount, Mainoo, or Ugarte or Casemiro, that would be that would blow up. You know what I mean? If any of those guys wasn't selected, it would blow up. Not to mention, I think if you didn't select Kobbie Mainoo, you would lose the record, by the way. So he can't be not selected. If you didn't pick Maguire or Delict, that would be pretty big. So, yeah, I don't know who you cannot pick besides Rasmus Højlund, you know? So anyway, that's why it's likely, but I guess we'll see tomorrow on that front. But yeah, anyway, it is believed that it'll be semi-impactful, I suppose, on his next decision of what he does following this, if he accepts a move away and all of that. Now, Carlos Baleba, I guess part of the question is how much does it matter? Heaton will be on the bench? Well, yeah, but you still have to select somebody else. I don't know. Is Heaton's not on the part of the record, is he? Does Heaton count as part of the record? Heaton does count as record. Oh, my God. I forgot about that. Thank God, by the way. Yeah, thank God for that. But surely that would mean but then you'd have to drop Bayindir, because that's why you have to have Heaton. You have to have Heaton and Bayindir. I was thinking one keeper. And if you were picking one keeper, it's Bayindir, not Heaton. Bayindir's the number 2. So I was thinking, because remember, I only selected one keeper in my choice there. So it would be, again, I was thinking Bayindir, Xerxes, Mount, Ahmad or Dallo, Leon, Maguire, Heaven or Shaw, Manu, Ugarte, Mount. I mean, you just have too many players, and you still have too many players. So I was saying you'd have to swap out like Kobbie Mainoo for him, but you wouldn't have Tom Heaton in. But yeah, Ruben also tends to pick 2 keepers, so he probably picks Bayindir and Heaton. But anyway, look, it's like the message is clear, but I think it's going to be really obvious. Some players will want to say, "Oh, I will want to be like, we'll have this feeling of like I could prove myself, so I'll get a chance." You never know what happens, but if you're not in the squad, then you won't even get the chance, and that surely ends all hope. So I guess we'll see. It should be Heaton is the best keeper in the team. I agree with you. So on Baleba then, obviously, we've done the whole brief on walking away from him. But given that, One thing just to bear in mind, like that has to be somewhat understood here, is that part of the whole point here of going for Baleba this season, part of the thinking was that we're going to spend more this summer and less next summer because of the difficulties with next summer's window, all of that. So if we're going to buy Baleba next year, that doesn't mean we suddenly have 80 to 100 million this year to spend, because now we've earmarked it for next summer to spend that kind of money. So I don't think that we suddenly have a bunch of money to spend. We need to sell to buy. Anybody in this window right now, we need to sell to buy. Yeah, there's been people suggesting if we sell that we go throw money at Baleba and try it. You'll hear those kinds of rumors of it not being off or not being totally over, and if United raise money and this and that they'll go try and do it. But I honestly don't believe that based on the conversations I've had. It's sort of like it's more like hopium and copium from sometimes people within the club too. But the reality is that it's not so much an issue of like even the money anymore, but like just how bad, how nothing the response to it was from Brighton. Now look, again, so the people we can cope and say that, yeah, well, if you go and actually throw 120 million in a bid, that'll change, but I just don't think that's going to happen, honestly. I don't believe that's going to happen at all. And there's no indication that will happen. It's pure hope and nothing else. Feel free. But I believe we will sign Baleba in 2026. And I believe we will get him. When I originally heard it, what did I say? I said, I'd be shocked. I said Baleba, Baleba, I would be shocked if we didn't make a move for him by the end of next summer. We tested the waters a little bit early, but now we're back to the somewhat original plan. He's our number one target for next summer. He still is. He will be. And there is some, certainly some belief, because we've started this already, that he will go to United. As long as we have a semi-decent season, that he will come to United. That's the belief. We've at least started it. Now, you can never guarantee things like that, but certainly United believe that they could get him. You think he'll turn down Liverpool and City as long as we're in Europe? Yeah. As long as we're in Europe, yeah. I mean, if we have another terrible season, then obviously it's going to get more difficult to convince players. But, guys, we just finished 15th, and we got Cunha and Bumo and Šeško. Like, let's be real for a second here. The doomering that I did myself about our ability to convince players is not necessarily true. But I do think, obviously, another bad season would be seriously concerning. Any chance that Baleba pushes Brighton to deal now? No, I don't think so. He's starting in the team. He's playing for them. There's nothing. Look, anybody saying that right now is lying. It's because it's not true. It's like it wouldn't be true to say he's going to push. It wouldn't be true to say that we're going to come back with another bid. It would be purely speculative, okay? And we can speculate, and people do speculate, but it wouldn't be true to say we did it. So if I answered that question and said, yeah, Baleba will push, that's a lie. He's not told anybody that he's going to push. He's not told anybody he's going to demand a move or anything like that. And if I told you that we were going to put another bid in, it would be a lie, because I don't know that we're going to put another bid in. And I don't think we are. It's been thought of, it's been considered, it's been floated, but it's not something they're planning to do at this point in time. I think the club put the money on the table and it still didn't happen. There would be more understanding. But who's to say they didn't, Glenn? Let me put it this way. I'm pretty positive they did. There's always, I told you this would be what would happen. I explained exactly what would happen if we went with a serious kind of proposal and we didn't get a response. We wouldn't hear about a bid. We wouldn't hear about the offer. We wouldn't get details. We would just hear United have backed away from a deal for Baleba. You can find my video from a full week ago stating exactly how it would go if our major offer got rejected, because I know how these things work. Guys, we very obviously did put in an offer. It doesn't matter if it's official. It doesn't matter how you want to lay it out, offer, bid, verbal. Who gives a shit? We made contact with them directly and made a proposal. And the answer was just no. It was not 70 plus 10, I promise you that. We made a proposal that was probably not the absolute top of what we could propose, but certainly one that we felt would have opened the door to a response if there was any hope of getting him this summer. And the response was negative. We just have to accept that. You just have to accept that, okay? You just have to accept that. That's what happened. Think Ineos will be a reactionary on results tomorrow? Absolutely not. In fact, I think they were more likely to pay up for Baleba if we were good than if we're bad. Because they don't see it in the same way. It doesn't matter what the bid was. It doesn't matter any of that. People are a bit too reliant on reports and things to consider when the reality is that we made some sort of proposal, some sort of offer, some sort of discussion, and the result was negative. And the result was negative. That's how Chelsea got Caicedo. Yeah, but not really. That's not really true, Anthony, because Liverpool had a bid accepted for him, and then Chelsea went above it, if I'm not mistaken. There was a point that Liverpool had a deal in place for Moise Caicedo, and then Chelsea went over that. So, not exactly. I don't think that that's actually how it worked back then. I think people forget how crazy that Caicedo, Liverpool, Chelsea triangle was at that time. He was going to Liverpool, and Caicedo, and then Chelsea went over the top of it. So they already had something on the table. It wasn't quite the same. So anyway, regardless, I believe Baleba will be joining in 2026. I believe Baleba will be joining in 2026, and I think we'll get him, and I think he'll be the main target that we'll have all our money lined up for, and the deal will be there, and the deal will be ready. Obviously, and Caicedo was like fully demanding a move as well. You have to bear in mind. They were like, right, yeah, maybe it was a personal thing, but there was some sort of matched thing. But Caicedo was like posting even as far back as January about his dreams to leave and like all of this stuff. Like he was making public demands essentially to leave. It's a different situation. And the thing is it's one of these pattern recognition things where people want to draw lines between things that aren't the same. Just because it happened with Caicedo doesn't mean that it'll happen with Baleba. Doesn't mean Brighton are going to treat it the same way. Doesn't mean that. It just doesn't. And it doesn't mean that Baleba is the same person as Caicedo. None of that is necessarily the case. Only way we get Champions League is Baleba. No, I don't agree with that. And Champions League pays for Baleba world record fee. We have to do a deal now. We can't beat City Liverpool with Europa at best. I don't agree with any of that. We've really never had a problem. We've really never had a problem competing with big clubs for convincing signings. Again, we just won Mbumo over Arsenal and Newcastle. We just won Cunha over everybody. So I just don't agree with that. You know, Šeško was Arsenal. They went for him first. They didn't get a deal done with him. We got a deal done with him over Newcastle. Like, it's not an issue. If we're in Europe, I think we can convince anybody. So, yeah. But look, I've already made my predictions on the league. So let's say we don't get Carlos Baleba, which, again, I don't think we're going to get Carlos Baleba. So, you know, we'll just kind of leave it at that because I just don't think that's happening this summer now. Yeah, Baleba's messing around. He's a happy guy. He's happy at Brighton. He's not demanding or anything like that. Okay. You can go back and look. We've beaten plenty of clubs for signings in the past, man. I mean, we beat Madrid for Lenny Oro last year. Give me a break. Just relax. Don't state things that are not necessarily true just so definitively because you don't know that that's true. You really don't know that that's true. And don't say Liverpool and City are much higher status than Arsenal historically either, by the way. I mean, it's just don't. Okay. The thing you don't want to state things that you know to be true that aren't because you don't. You just don't know. And you don't know what the will of the player is. He might be a United fan. Ekitike did not choose Liverpool. When we came in for him, he had already committed to Liverpool. That's the difference. There's two different things in there. Okay. It's like it doesn't matter. You don't know that these things are true when you state that we can't beat them. There's plenty of players that we've beaten. There's plenty of players that we've lost. It's whatever. And you don't know what the discussions were with Baleba. So it's just doomering for the sake of it. So I'm not going to abide by that because you don't know. You just don't. And you don't know what the conversations are. And United certainly believe that they can get Baleba next year, and I'll stick with that. In terms of what comes next, if we cannot get Carlos Baleba, which we're very likely not going to get Carlos Baleba, when you look at that overall, as we discussed the other day, I said we probably would be moving on to different types of players. And I think that's the case. Now, there's still some look at Gilman, Ederson, Wharton as options. I think all of them are going to be difficult. I'm not convinced we do anything. I'm not convinced we do anything. You know? because there's just a chance that we don't. When we got Benjamin Šeško, I figured that was probably it for our window until the Baleba thing kind of came out. I thought maybe we'll get a goalkeeper. Maybe. Wharton, Ederson, and Højlund are different type of player to Carlos Baleba. Now, you might say, well, why don't we immediately just go buy one of those players? Well, one of the reasons that we were more interested in Carlos Baleba is that we felt like, potentially he was going to have much more of an impact than anybody else in terms of his flexibility in the midfield, in terms of his partnerships, in terms of things like that. Whereas when you take someone like Adam Wharton or Højlund, if you compare the way that they play or would play with, like, let's say Bruno specifically in the midfield, it's not necessarily the best partnership. Both Højlund and Wharton would probably be better than both Højlund and Wharton would be much better with Baleba than they would with Bruno. So, there's different ideas there. I'm not to say that they aren't looking, but the fact of the matter is today they have not decided on what to do next. They have options, they have opportunities, but it's important to note that they're not going to sign players just for the sake of it, because fans lose their mind when we don't do transfers, and for some reason the arbitrary number of 4 or 5 is apparently, if you don't make 5 signings, you're screwed, regardless of the fact that United actually have the highest net spend in England so far this year, after finishing in 15th. There's a reality that also has to be faced on cash, on PSR, and these types of things too. But regardless, they're not going to make panic signings. They're not going to be signing players that we don't want in the long term just to fill a space, again, because there's a clamor for more. That's just not going to happen. That's just not how they operate. It's just not what they're going to do, what they do. So there's other options that they look at. So they may look at somebody. That's why I'm saying we can't necessarily eliminate somebody like Wharton, Ederson, or Højlund because they're options. Because maybe you think, all right, well, it'd be better to get them now, even if they're not going to be nearly as, even if they don't fix the balance of things as much as Baleba would, because in the future, we will still use them. So we'll see if they move those kind of plans forward, because they would have hoped to have someone like Baleba in first before signing one of those types of players. We'll see if they go for a center back, which has been on the agenda. I can confirm that for certain that they've been looking at center backs. So we'll see if they make that decision. And I suppose we'll find out if anything happens with a goalkeeper as well. We know that they've been looking at that, but they haven't been ready to make a move there just because they, again, just have so many. And Onana isn't leaving. Is Ederson capable of playing alongside Bruno this year, then Baleba next year? Would that not work? I think it could. I'm not saying it's ideal, but I think it could. I think it could work. For sure. And I think he'd be easier to get than the other two, Højlund and Wharton. I think Wharton is practically impossible. With Eze about to leave Palace for Tottenham, it seems like. I think Palace selling Wharton at this stage in the window is just as fanciful as it would be to go get Carlos Baleba or somebody like that. It would be just as tough to do that. So I feel like that's really, really difficult. But I guess we will see moving forward what they do. The decision has not been made, though. I do expect that we'll find out more after the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, as to what we're going to do next, if anything, and where we're at in the window. But I think the point here is we still need sales. We need the Højlund thing to accelerate. We need Chelsea to make their move for Garnacho actually and get it over the line in order to do anything. And then I think they'll try to get some kind of player in that might be, somebody who they want in the long term. So we will see. I think these 3 signings do put us in 4th position. I think they do. I think that one of the things this weekend showed, in my opinion, when I look at the matches overall, is, hold on a sec here. One of the things that I feel strongly about this when you look at the results, and by the way, I got to add, I was 1 minute. People are all whatever. I was literally 5 seconds away. Brighton versus Fulham. 5 seconds away from a perfect prediction on the first 2 days in terms of who would win each game. 5 seconds away. So close. And in addition, I predicted City were going to win the league and Højlund was get the golden boot. And look, City are going to win the league. I also predicted Wolves to get relegated. So my day one is going pretty damn well in terms of my expectations for this season. But the fact of the matter is, when I look at the matches, I look at these teams, Bournemouth have gotten ripped apart. They look absolutely horrific defensively. They don't have the team. Aston Villa and Newcastle were terrible. Terrible. And I expect that Newcastle are really going to struggle without Isak. Newcastle were crap. They look crap. They're going to be crap. They do not have it. Brighton and Fulham. Fulham looked really bad as well. I don't think either of these have improved. West Ham looked like they could easily get relegated. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. We're not going to be finishing lower than Sunderland. Tottenham being better in the first... Tottenham winning against a team that is going to get relegated in August, and then people crowning them, happens literally every single year. Every single year. Tottenham wins some early games. They did it under, who's the guy? Postecoglou. Both of the last couple seasons, winning these big early games, looking great in August against relegation teams, and people were going, oh my God, Postecoglou. Oh my God, look at that. And then by October, they're just back to being Spurs. This is very, very little. And then City just destroyed Wolves, who looked absolutely terrible. So it is what it is on there. But a lot of massive overreactions. A lot of massive overreactions. And I ain't doing the dooming and the negativity and all of that kind of stuff off of one weekend. It just ain't happening. I'm not doing that. I don't get into that. But every single year this happens with Tottenham. They win a few games in August and September, and people are ready to say, oh, it's Tottenham's year. And then they fall off every single year. And the reason is simple, and it has nothing to do with the manager. The reason is simple, and you'll see it very soon. Spurs buy Spurs players. They're about to spend a bunch of money on Eze. I'm sorry. Eze isn't getting you into the competition for contention for the league. Eze is that guy where the squad quality at the end of the day, they buy a lot of people who are going to help them finish consistently in the 5th to 7th range. Everybody they bought this summer is somebody that's going to help them finish in the 5th to 7th range. People will see that. They are not players that are that good, and they do it all the time. Eze was better than Mboum. All right, Hamza, you're going to get timed out in a minute. That's the worst take you've actually ever said. You've actually that totals it. Eze is better than Mboum and Cunha. Okay, all right. That's absolutely horrendous take. An unbelievable take. An unbelievably terrible take. Eze is one of the more overrated players in the league. He's good. He's not that good. There's a lot of games he floats in and out and has very, very little impact. But to say that he's better than Cunha and Mbeumo is that's one of the worst. That's one of the worst takes I've ever seen. At least on par with Cunha, that's insane. That is insane. I fully wonder whether you guys watch things with just like the firm belief that like you just watch games under the firm belief that like of making it as negative for United as possible, because that's crazy. That is so crazy. Eze's not that good. Eze's just not that good. I mean, he's just not that good. It's like, he's just not that good, man. 8 goals, 8 assists last season. He's a good player. He's just okay. He's just okay. There's literally no evidence of it. Eze is a decent player, and that's about what he is. He's a very, very Spurs level player. I think we'll finish above Villa. Villa. I think we'll finish above Spurs as well. I think we'll finish above Spurs as well. I mean, you know what's really, really funny? What's really, really funny is that Spurs finished 17th in the league. I mean, do people not remember that, right? Spurs finished 17th in the league, okay? They finished 17th in the league. And they've signed Kudus. Good signing. I really like Kudus. Danso and Vuskovic. And you have the same people saying that they're going to finish in the top, but our 3 signings of Cunha, Mbumo, and Šeško, significantly better signings than they've made, that they're like, do you see the problem with when you just get this silly with your thinking? They finished 17th in the league, and oh my God, they got Paulinho on loan. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I forgot about Paulinho on loan. That's the difference maker, right? I don't care if they beat us 4 times. They had Tell last season, and he's terrible, and they executed the option, so I'm not even considering him. They've signed worse. They've made worse signings than we have this year. And they lost Madison for the season, by the way, and with an ACL injury. But they're going to go from 7th to above to top 5, but we can't with significantly better signings. Like, just say you hate United, you want them to fail so you can be right about Ruben Amorim. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it. Say it with me. I'll say it with you. Say it. Just say it. Just say that is the case. You want United to lose so you can be right about Amorim, because it's the same people who always say it. Especially if you're hyping up Spurs, okay? If you're hyping up Spurs' window and where they're going to finish in the league, then you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing. You do. Just say it. Come on. Just say it. You want it to be that way so you can be right about Ruben Amorim. Just say it. Come on. You know that's the truth. You know that's why. Because there's other things that are totally justifiable. There's other things that are totally justifiable in terms of takes. But what is absolutely not justifiable is to claim that the team that finished 17th in the league, that's certainly not had a summer even as close to us in terms of the quality of players brought in, is easily going to be in the top 5, but it's crazy for us to even consider it. Just say it. They got a new manager whose previous job and experience is at Brentford only. And it's his first season at a big club. Just say it. That's the point. The fact that you hate the manager after 6 months is insane. That's insane. That you hate the manager after 6 months. That's crazy. Like you've lost it. I'm sorry, you have lost it. That's wild. If you already hate the manager and want the manager out, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's wild. That's insane. 0 windows, by the way. 0 windows. 0 windows. That's wild. Yeah. Well, that's a you problem. But the fact that you're letting that color your opinions on the game to where you actually want us to lose is very, very different. It's a very, very strange thing. It's a very, very strange thing. But anyway, let's talk about Arsenal. You're very good. So anybody in that position, like it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But regardless, when we play Arsenal, like I explained earlier, I think the biggest question is going to be on the center backs, because I think that we have the best. I think we have significantly better forwards than we had before, and goals win games. If you haven't noticed this weekend, I'll tell you the most ironic, funniest thing is Liverpool. If you watch the opening game against Bournemouth from Liverpool, if you watch that game and you don't get it yet, then you never will. Liverpool I always use them as an example because they're so frustratingly such a strong example of how you properly build the team to success. And you know what the answer is? It's scoring goals. It is and always will be. People waffle so much about defending when the answer is to suffocate your opponents with scoring goals and becoming aggressive in the attack. Liverpool got ran through in that opening game just as bad and just as open through that midfield as supposedly we are. Maybe worse. They couldn't defend any transitions at all. And yet, what did they do? They score 4 goals. And they win the game. That's what we do. That's why we're shit. There's so much over dramatic bullshit made of United simply because we don't score goals. That's it. Goals win you games. Goals win you titles. Goals win you points. Nothing else matters. If we actually scored more goals, just scored goals, man, it would take so much pressure off of us. It would take so much pressure off of us. I'm not confident at all for tomorrow. What about you? I am. I think we're going to win. I'm quite certain of that. We have to score goals. We've had too many managers that have tried to do so much other stupid stuff when we just never focused on scoring goals. Like, just realize the insanity of where we've been for the last number of years. Jose Mourinho did not coach the final third, admittedly. Did not actually try to... all of his effort was going into defending in a certain way because he does things a bit differently. Solskjaer was the closest. Because you take Solskjaer, right? And this is I think, one of the better examples of it. Solskjaer had us as the best that we've been in the league for a long time. With what midfield? McFred? Old, dying Matic? Maguire and Lindelof at the back? Why? Because we just went and attacked. We didn't have a better midfield than we have now, actually. We didn't have a better defense than we had now, actually. We didn't. We just had a better attack. We just had a good front three. There was a front three season when we finished second where Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, with Cavani in there, were just so dangerous that we just won games. Now, does that make us title contenders? No, it doesn't. You have to fix some of the other things in order to get into that position. You have to fix some of the other issues in order to get into the position of winning titles. We just attacked. We just scored goals. That's it. That's all you have to do. When Liverpool, I remember when Liverpool got going. The first few seasons under Jurgen Klopp, they were defensively hilarious. Their midfield and their back line was so funny. The first couple years under Jurgen Klopp. And if you actually were watching football back then, which I have some doubt that there's a number of people that have, you will remember the first few games, the first few years under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. Goalkeeper errors out the fucking ass, including all the way in until a Champions League final. Goalkeeping errors out the ass. The defending was comical. They would score a bunch of games, and they would score, but they scored a ton of goals and conceded a ton of chances. And if you watch those few seasons, you'll know I'm right, and that was what would happen. That's what happened. That's how early Liverpool were. They scored goals, and they conceded tons of chances. And then what did they do? They bought the best keeper in the world, the best center back in England, and the best midfielder that they can get to fix those issues afterwards. They even waited until January, right, to get Van Dijk in the door. They understood, or at least Klopp did, in the way that he views things. We've got to bring the excitement, bring the energy, bring the goals, get the team together, get the emotions together, get the club together. And then they were insanely heavy metal, exactly. And I remember Klopp being asked repeatedly if he knew how to coach defending. I remember it was really funny. It was hilarious. And I used to clown on them. all the time. And then suddenly it clicked and I was like, fuck. We got it so wrong. You know? They had it right. They went out to score goals. They went out to batter teams and to bring that energy and embrace the chaos to a degree. And then they brought in the best personnel possible to fix the other issues that were happening. Well, you have to look at where we are at. We're rebuilding the entire team. And Ruben Amorim is the closest manager there is to Jurgen Klopp. It's why Liverpool wanted him, by the way, and why he was at the top of the way that they brought in. And no, it wasn't counterattacking football. It wasn't counterattacking football either. So, you know, it's just a similar. You know, there's similarities here, and we have to start. Yeah, it's similarities. We have to be better at scoring goals. We have to be better at scoring goals. That's what has to happen. And that's why we brought in all the attackers, brought in the best attackers that we possibly could to go in and score goals. Amorim does not play counterattacking football. Not even a little bit, actually. Not even a little. I think that a lot of people think anytime you send a ball over the top, it's counterattack. It's not. Artificial transitions are not counterattacking football. In fact, Ruben Amorim's Sporting were regularly the second highest possession in the league, in first or second in Portugal. You having the ability to counter is important. Liverpool counter, but they're not a counterattacking team. You can have high possession, be able to counter, and not be a counterattacking team. All of those things are possible. So that's what we need to do. And that's what I'm going to look for against Arsenal. I just want to see us scoring 2 goals a game again. That's it. That's what's going to tell me if we're going to be successful. If we can score 2 goals a game, I don't care if we're conceding. I'm not going to lose my shit about it. I would rather see us score 2 goals a game and concede 1 to 2 goals every game and play that way, because we can fix the defending by upgrading the personnel. We can. As long as we figure out how to score goals, we'll win games. and we'll win points and we'll climb the table. If we can get above 65 goals this season, we will get in the top 4. I feel that. We can fix the defending with personnel. A new keeper, a new center back, a new number 6. And that will fix the defending for the most part, if we just get the right people in those positions. The defending wasn't even bad last year, frankly. Like, that's the problem. That's really the funny part. The defending wasn't even that bad. You know? The defending wasn't that bad at all. We cut down on the number of chances conceded, the number of shots faced, all sorts of things dramatically. We just still couldn't score any goals. So that's what we've got to do. And I think we will. Even City are embracing. And look, I made a claim in my preseason prediction the other day that you can go watch it. I said City are going to win the league and Haaland's going to get the golden boot. Why? Because Pep has embraced fast attacking direct football. And he's going to use Erling Haaland as much more of a focal point than ever before as a number 9. You could see it in game 1. They're going to do it all season. And Haaland's going to score probably 30 plus goals this season, honestly. Maybe more. It's going to be wild. Because I've seen where Pep is going to go with it. And unfortunately, it's not good because they have damn good players. And unfortunately, Reindeers looks like a hit too. So they're not going to suffer as much from the loss of Kevin De Bruyne as you would have hoped they would. Pep always adapts. Pep, once he has a system in place, then every year he adapts and he adjusts the way that he wants to play. He didn't used to play with a player like Højlund, and then he adjusted to that, and then blah, blah, blah. And he is really irritating, and it's what makes him such a good manager, that he has a strong system that he put in place, and then he adapts really well, better than most managers at that. He is very flexible at that point in time. And that is highly irritating, no doubt. Because he's gotten on board with the next phase of football already after a bad season. So, yeah. Against Arsenal, I think we're going to win. You chose because Anthony Martial. That explains everything. That actually explains everything. Yes, well, spends the most money too. He's certainly a checkbook manager. I mean, they only spent, $300 million between January and summer. Yeah, only did that, by the way. Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is that I think we'll beat Arsenal. I do. If we start Benjamin Šeško. Then we have a very good chance. If we start Casemiro, that's going to reduce our chance quite a lot. I think people are not ready to see just how aggressive, fast, and flawless, not flawless, what's the word I'm looking for? Aggressive, fast, and ferocious this team will be when it actually has a striker. When this team actually has a striker who runs and attacks and is aggressive and is fast and physical, you will be shocked, because Amorim football is not what people have seen. Not even a little bit. And that's the really frustrating part. I know what it's supposed to look like. And if you've actually watched a bunch of stuff, if you've actually watched them at Sporting too, you know. But it's supposed to be fast. When I say he's the closest to Klopp, it's not an accident. I mean that quite I mean that quite literally, stylistically, the way he views the personalities, the way he manages players, the way he does things. He has the most similarities, which is why Liverpool's analytics team said he was the closest manager to Jurgen Klopp as a replacement, but didn't want to change to a back three. He is. And the football is rock and roll once it gets going. It's serious. It's a lot of attack. It's fast, it's up and down, and it's very, very aggressive. So I just hope we see it sooner rather than later, and a striker is going to be the biggest key to that whole thing. But the biggest key, we've got the wing backs. We've got Patrick Dorgu set to have a big season. We've got Ahmad. We have great 10s who can drop in, who are fast, who are dynamic. The missing ingredient is the striker. As long as we have that happening, then we'll be good. Who would you pair Bruno in the pivot with? Ugarte every single day. There's nobody else who can do the job, in my opinion. I think we'll be okay with that. And then I think that's obviously, again, where we need upgrades are there, and at goalkeeper and at center back. And that's what will fix the defensive flaws that we have. Well, I knew, Marcus, it's unfortunate. I was saying it on the United View when I was sitting there on Friday doing the Trinity with Flex and Owen, and we got the news that we were pulled out from Baleba. I was just like, United fans, man. Like, I understand. I run a basically a transfer news channel, even though, again, I'm trying to expand into a lot more than that because it's frustrating. Like, transfer news is just one aspect, and I actually have learned a lot from getting closer to the club and all of that. And there's so many more things that are worth talking about than transfers, right? And when that news came out, I was like, God, it's going to be insufferable. It's going to be insufferable because when we started the window, we didn't expect to have a window even as good as we've already had. And people would have been really happy with it. When we made the move for Benjamin Šeško after getting Cunha and Mbumo, people were like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then people instantly decide, because we thought we had a chance at Baleba, which nobody in the entire world would have thought a month ago, that it doesn't happen, and suddenly we're shit, everything's shit, it's all going to be terrible. So that's just not the case. People need to find a baseline to operate in their lives and not get so worn out by every little swing and direction and thing like that. Yeah. If you end up right about Amarim, you better... I will never stop gloating if I end up right about Amarim. And the thing is like, there's so much more that matters than transfers about whether a team performs or not. It's so surface level. That's what I've learned by covering transfers and by getting closer to the club and all of this. There's so much more that goes into a team being successful than just transfers. And I got it massively wrong because there's been times I thought the only thing you have to do is just buy good players. And it helps. It helps. Buying good players, it certainly helps. But I don't think people have realized just how bad things have been at United, man. I don't think people have realized just how fucking bad things have been. Like, it's hard to explain, and you know, I could think of it as like an analogy. Should I do the relationship analogy? I haven't done one today, and I've already been going for an hour and 33 minutes. But it's like, imagine every day you try to go to work and at home, your house is on fire. Let's leave the relationship out of it. Your kitchen's on fire. You come downstairs, the floorboards are creaking, the house is falling apart, the kitchen's on fire, there's smoke billowing out of the fireplace, there's nails sticking up from the walls, you know, the window's cracked, people are screaming, guns are being fucking fired off at houses next door, people are crying in the streets, people are doing fentanyl in your backyard, and you're supposed to go to work and say, I'm going to do my best today. I'm going to perform. I'm going to be the best me that I can be. Good luck. I don't care who you are. If that's what you deal with on a regular basis, it's nearly impossible. You have to get out. You have to get out of that environment. You have to get out of that place. You have to go somewhere different. You have to. Or you'll be sucked into it. You will. And that's Manchester United under the Glazers. You know? That's what's been. Go to a ground where the facilities are crap, things are rotting, things are falling apart, where you can't even, you've got to get in a van. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that people don't even realize about what's wrong at United and what has been going on at United behind the scenes. And I didn't either. I always thought, oh, come on, like, just good players perform, blah, 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 right? But it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's I think it's also like demeaning to when you realize, like, why do so many clubs have analysts, tech people, data scientists, all of that? Like, do they just do it for nothing? Or does it actually help them be successful? It must help them be successful, or they probably wouldn't do it. Right? These are things that equal success on the pitch. Brentford, for example, for the smallest budget, right? Let's look at it in almost the reverse. For one of the smallest budgets in football, have such good data and analytics, they've overperformed better than anyone else in the entire Premier League. They should be in the third tier. Maybe bottom of the championship, right? But the things that they have help them make the decisions to put it out on the pitch that will help them be successful. And they perform to such a high degree with that. Now, imagine every day, every other club is able to study their training, study their games, study the player data, look at all of that, and output something that's actually useful to say, hey, by the way, this person, they should come off at 60 minutes. This person, they should come off at 80. This person, they should do this. This player should be here. This player is going to attack down this area, and this matchup is going to work. And there's a million data points to look at that could help you. And what do you see? Oh, why do we always fall off at 70 minutes? Well, we didn't have the data that they had to say that this is actually what's going to happen. There are so many things that happen that do this. Sir Alex used to, of course, change up his backroom all the time to be on the cutting edge in football. Of tactics, of analytics, of everything, because, he wanted to make sure he knew everything there was to know and not be behind. We've been 20 years behind. We've been 15 years behind. I remember reading an article about Liverpool, how they recruit players, where like they have this model. And look, of course, there's always going to be PR and things like that. But they have this model in terms of how they recruit players, where they're literally like analyzing their movements and piecing everything together. And it's like, maybe it's over the top, but then again, maybe that's why they have such a good record with transfers, is because they've analyzed absolutely everything to the nth degree and have such an incredible amount of data to assist the manager with. Maybe that's why. These things do matter, but also, of course, the environment matters. And the biggest thing that I'm going to say, the biggest thing that I think makes an impact on this season is the fact that the players actually get along. I mean, it's so bluntly obvious. Let's forget all the other stupid shit. The players in the last year or two, it's almost laughable how, like, fractured that group was. It's embarrassing, and it's unbelievable to even think that we had a team. If you understand just how fractured and broken the team has been. There was no team. a bunch of players in it for themselves, a bunch of small cliques and things like that. There was absolutely no team. None. So of course they can't work together. Of course they can't do a thing. And it's not just that there was no team. There was no respect for one another either. You don't have to love each other every second of every day and get along and be best friends and play all your games together and go to, they went to a Drake thing and all that. You don't have to go to concerts every week. But you know what you do have to have? You have to have is respect. There has to be a respect for one another in there. There has to be a trust in one another in there. There has to be leadership in there. And none of that has happened. None of that was there. And one of the biggest complaints that I had with Erik ten Hag is that we didn't have an existing dressing room culture that the manager could come in and just ignore it. There's dressing rooms where you've had players who've been there long enough, you've had groups that have been there long enough, that have been successful enough, that they are able to come in and there's already a strong culture. There's already a strong group and a strong leadership. We didn't have that. And Ten Hag didn't give a shit about it. And that's one of the reasons he will fail in many, many clubs over the course of his career. Because he doesn't care to fix that problem if it's not already existing. Ajax have an incredibly strong basic culture from bottom up. At least they did. And so Ten Hag didn't have to come in and create an Ajax culture. Ajax has a culture. He failed to bring any of that to United because it's never been something he's had to do. That's the truth of it. That's what Ruben Amorim is bringing, a culture. Because he dealt with the same fractured dressing room at Sporting that was just as bad, just as broken, just as chaotic, that was completely fucked with the fans, with everybody, right? It was bad. And he fixed that and created that culture first, and that led to winning. And I think that's what's going to happen here. And I think it's one of those things you just can't measure. You just have to see it. And I can say firsthand from seeing it in person, it's totally different. I've never seen anything like it at United. I wasn't close enough to experience anything like that in years, like way back when, but I've never seen anything like it. I've never have at United. I've seen it at other clubs, but I've not seen it at United. So that's my hope. That's why I have hope. It's not you can't quantify everything because what's up here matters. The emotional, mental, spiritual, what have you, connection between people makes a difference. And how they get along and how they work together and how they operate is going to make a massive difference to things and means more than trying to put it all into numbers and figures. I think United have good players. I think they have talented players. I think they have a good enough team of individuals to be in the top four. I think if they work together, then they can. So that's what we'll see. That was long-winded, hour 43 minutes. I think we'll win tomorrow. Check out my prediction. I did it earlier. 2-1 United, Šeško and Cunha. Check out my video on that for a quick 9-10 minute thought on all of that. I hope you'll watch that after this if you haven't already. I do appreciate very much when people catch up with all the other types of content and things that I drop instead of just the lives and transfer news and things like that, because throughout the season there's a lot more of that, and there's a lot more to be found in those moments than you think. In those videos, there's a lot of things I hear through the season about, the different issues going on, things like this we're just talking about in the dressing room that I think are serious and I think matter, and I think people would be very interested to hear about through the year. So I appreciate when you guys watch and support the rest of the channel and the other videos. Hey, James, I don't normally get to see you live, but thank you for the amazing content and detailed insight. I watch every stream best out there. Thank you very much, Rage Cage. Appreciate it very much. I'm going to go have some dinner, enjoy the Saturday night. Tomorrow morning, I'll be live at around 8 o'clock my time. That's going to be 15 minutes before the lineups come out, so we can talk about the lineups, get into it, see what we think, and then make sure to join Big Up Below for the watch along. And after the game, I'll be live and bringing you on as guests to share your thoughts on the game, to vent. This is where you can really, I want the emotion. I want all of it. You know, the same way people do outside the stadium. I want to provide an outlet for people to do that online. That's healthy. So you don't go about the rest of your weekend and day and all of that upset, or you can celebrate and be very, very happy, ideally. I will prioritize with that people with video just because whatever, but I'd love to start getting some regular people who come on, share their thoughts and things like that after each game. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. I will see you all in the morning. And it's finally here. We're ready for United